Hello everyone. Welcome to this fifth and the final session of strategy discussion with me, Rishi Mittal, CAT 2019 100%. As you might have attended in the first four sessions, we have so far covered in depth how to go about quantitative ability, followed by DILR, followed by RC. Then we had a overall strategy discussion about different things like mock attempting, analyzing, how to prepare in the last few days that are left, and I answered a couple of queries which were something which most of the aspirants had. So in today's session, we are gonna specifically focus on the VA part. That is the last part that I wanted to discuss, and I'll be discussing on how important this is, how to go about different kind of VA questions, and how to maximize your score basically. And towards the end of the session, I'll be giving some tips on the last few days and how to keep your mindset when the exam comes in. So we'll dive straight into this and cover the agenda in the last session. Well, I hate to say it's the last session because I've had a great time with all of you and discussing my complete preparation, all that I had in just a matter of 5 hours. So that's been an amazing journey. So let's straight dive into this. Starting with para-jumbles. As you might know, there are three types of major questions which come in the VA section: para-jumbles, summary, and the odd one out. So, in para-jumbles, what I believe is that the first task is to identify the opening sentence. So, once you know that, you can go ahead with much ease. The best bet here is to look out for sentences without pronouns and have a kind of an introductory tone. Also, you might look for sentences which are, introducing a new topic, but that can be a little tricky because at times, even the last sentence is introducing a new topic, which might be a discussion for the further part of the article. But, anyways, for this one, we'll take the opening sentence to be a one which has no pronouns per se and has an introductory kind of a tone, is more generic. And second, identify the ending sentence. Ending sentence mostly is the one which you might confuse with an opening sentence, but realize later that this sentence doesn't lead you anywhere. As I said, ending sentence and opening sentence might both actually introduce a topic, but opening sentence will be the one will be discussing the topic which is there in the rest of the sentences as well, whereas the ending sentence might introduce a topic which is not there in any of the other sentences, right? So this is their identity per se, and they close the discussion, the ending sentences, if I must say. Many a times the sentence mentions something which is absent in the other sentences. So you should also kind of look for that hint and identify it as a tail ender. For the body of your paragraph, once you have set the opening and the ending sentences, so you can either try to get sentences which are immediately following the opening sentence or immediately preceding the ending sentence. You can use the pairing method. You can pair the sentences which might look good to you together, right? So for the body of your paragraph, try making blocks, by which I mean identify the pair of sentences which are destined to be together. Generally, they are connected by words like but, moreover, nonetheless, etc. Also, pronouns play a major role, right? When you read sentences, you will find that some pronouns are being introduced in the second or third sentence. That will help you see the flow of which sentence comes where and helps you play a major role in deciding the order. Even after making the pair, sometimes you don't know which pair will come first or second or third for that matter. So then pronouns play a good role over there. Noun of one sentence is pronoun to the next. Remember that. There might be multiple nouns and pronouns. So look at the gender, look at the plurality of the pronouns, look at such minute details that will help you actually decide in which order the sentences will come. This approach is best for four sentence para-jumbles, and for five sentences it's a little different because the block making strategy changes. And in personal opinion, five sentence para-jumbles are much easier than the four sentence para-jumbles. right? Those watching on YouTube or on Academy, if you have any questions, anything at all, feel free to ask on chat. Okay, so let's just move on. Those watching can ask the questions on chat and I'll answer them as soon as I finish one block of discussion. Okay, so for 4 sentence speech and 5 sentence speech, one thing that remains common or constant is the opening sentence and ending sentence identification that I have discussed. So do that, and after that you'll be left with 2 or 3 sentences depending on 4 or 5 sentence PJ to be placed in order. So when that is the case, for the 4 sentence PJ, what you can do is, as I said, you can identify the pronouns. Identify which are the nouns that are being introduced in the first opening sentence and how are they referred to in the next remaining 2 sentences. Similarly, in the 5 sentence one, you can make blocks. One will be with the opening sentence, one sentence will go with the closing sentence, and one might just hang. So your task there will be to identify whether that hanging statement goes in the middle, in the start, or in the end. Because sometimes you might falter in identifying the opening and the ending sentences. As we move forward with this discussion, when I'm discussing all the 3 kinds of VA questions, I'll be taking examples of how I would have solved that particular question and also how to analyze such VA questions, right? So today's discussion will be purely based on VA and also will be covering the exam day strategies in a gist. If the people who are watching on YouTube or on an academy have any questions, feel free to ask on the chat. This is my last session with you guys, and I feel you should make the most of it. Any question, literally any question, just feel free to ask. So let's take an example over here. Okay. So I've picked up a para-jumble and let's see how I would have gone for this. This is a 5 sentence para-jumble and let's see how to make sense of this, right? On the strategies that we have discussed so far. As simple as that. The A sentence is, in simpler terms, it is the Indian version of Razzies. I see the word it being used here. So that's a pronoun. That's definitely not an opening sentence. The third Golden Kela Awards will be hosted by Cyrus Brocha this year. This has no pronouns, so this can be an opening sentence or a closing sentence. I know that this year has been mentioned here, so maybe there's some chronology in the next sentences. So maybe I can set the sentences in terms of chronology of time, right? The next sentence is it was created in order to ridicule the bad performances and as revenge for wasting our precious time and money on such idiotic films. Seems quite fun. But again, it word is used, it's a pronoun, so it is not an opening sentence. As I mentioned, my first task is to find the opening and the closing sentences. So far, I know A and C are using pronouns, so they are not opening sentences for sure. B is has no pronoun but is using this here. So if I find some chronology, I'll be putting this later on. Okay, this is a good. This one is a good opening or a closing sentence. It can be opening or closing, one of them. Okay, so let's see how we can see. Yes, I'll check option B. Wait. Let's just discuss and see how we can break it down, right? So as I mentioned, sentence A and sentence C have it in it. Okay, let's go to sentence D. The Golden Kela is held each year. Now I can see each year, which is a generic one, which I feel should come before this year because this year is in present. Each year is a simple present statement, right? It's a continuous statement. So I might personally put D before B, but let's see. Where awards are given for the year's worst in Bollywood. So option D is a very generic statement, is a definition statement of what Golden Kila Awards are and how frequently they are organized. So for me, option B and sentence B and sentence D are both candidates for the opening sentence. Then it was created by Random Magazine. Again, I can see the word it coming here. Okay, Random Magazine, India's longest running humor magazine, in year 2009. Perfect. So now I know that option B or D, one of them should start. Option B talks about this year. Option D talks about each year. So in terms of chronology, I will put option D as the opening statement. Now, simply seeing, looking at the options, I could have said that, this is the only option which has option D, which is beginning, so this is the correct answer. But let's just solve it. Let's just see how that order comes in. Okay. So after option D, I know that the next completely independent statement is option B. So I might put option sentence B as the closing statement. Fair enough. Let's see, but let's see how other sentences go. So my trick usually with these kind of sentences is to go in a pyramid kind of a manner. A very, very generic statement to more details and a lengthier statement. That's just a thumb rule. That's not a rule that follows every para-jumble, but that's a thumb rule. That it will go from a generic shorter statement to a detailed longer statement. So anyways, I've identified D as the opening sentence. Then I don't know what Golden Killer Awards are. Okay, it's said that it's held each year, but what exactly it is? So then I see option A is putting it in simpler terms for me, Indian version of Razzies. That looks good. Then option E talks about the creation of this, okay, and option C says why it was created. So I know that option C will come up after option E, okay. So I can see that uh, option C comes before E, option C comes before E, option C comes before E. So again, these three options look wrong. So as I said, if you identified the opening sentence, option A is correct. If you've identified that E will come before C, option A is correct. But these are just tricks for the exam. Let's just understand how we can do it without options at all. So option D will be the starting statement. After I know that, okay, this is held every year, I'll understand what it is, why it was created, uh, by whom it was created, when it was created, why it was created, and what is the latest update on that. So when I've done with the, if you see option or sentence A, C, D, and E, they are talking about the definition, the origination, the inception of those golden killer awards. Whereas option B talks about how it is now, what is the status right now. So therefore, sentence B will come in the last. Putting all of this together, what I see is D is the opening statement, A follows, then E, then C, then B. Hence, option A is the correct answer for this particular question. I hope that was a clear explanation. If there are any doubts in this explanation, please feel free to ask on chat. Great, Arjika. I hope you understood right. Anyone else who's watching on YouTube or on Academy, if you did not understand this or have any question regarding this particular para-jumble topic, feel free to shoot on the chat, then I'll move forward. No questions? Okay. So guys, when you're analyzing the para-jumbles, right, you might have given a number of mocks. You might be giving some more mocks before the next 20 days of CAT, right? So when you're analyzing this para-jumble, one thing definitely you can see whether you've got it right or wrong. Second, understand the explanation of why your answer is right or wrong. One last thing, what you can also do is that usually this complete VRC section, be it the RCs, be it the para-jumbles, be it the summary questions, or be it the odd one out, all of them are taken from some existing source. Okay, so this is something, again, this is very subjective, but this can work if you like. Like for example, this particular para-jumble, what I used to do is I used to go to the source of each of the question after I was analyzing, when I was analyzing. Okay. Now I know that, okay, this is the answer for this. I might have got it right or wrong in the exam. I don't know. So what I did was after the exam, when I was analyzing this mock, I went to the source of each of such questions and see what is the actual order of sentence, what is the context in that particular place. When you do that for multiple questions across multiple mocks, you'll start getting a knack of the questions. You'll start getting a knack of the style of writing that people have, of these articles follow. Right? If you see, This particular place exactly tells you how this parajumble was formed, and this is the right answer, and this is a real source of that question. So, this will also help you in another manner. How? You'll be reading articles. Secondly, what happens usually at parajumbles, what also happens that there are 5 sentences, all of them seem to fit in place. But sometimes there is a sentence which has a different writing style. Those are the most difficult kind of parajumbles to catch. Okay. So when if you are doing this, if you are going to the source of every article of every question and reading that article for once, slowly and eventually you'll start identifying the writing styles of particular people. And what I mean by writing styles, you'll understand if you do this. I know there's not a lot of time for the CAT 2020 aspirants, but still 20 days is not less, believe me. If you are sitting and reanalyzing your mocks that you have given so far, or you're practicing more questions, or you're giving more mocks, in all of this, even for that matter, in the CAT paper, they don't make these questions, they pick these articles from somewhere, right? So this is a good practice to have, uh, because sometimes what will happen is you won't have a lot of pronouns, you won't have a lot of generic statements, detailed statements, or a clear flow to help you. Also, that will help you in the odd one outs. Okay, so just take care if you can source it. If you can source every question, every RC, every parajumble, every odd one out summary. Summary, not really, because summary, anyways, the complete abstract or extract is given from there. But for such parajumbles and odd one out, do try this method if you like it. Okay. If you guys have any doubt so far, tell me. Otherwise, we'll move to the next topic of VA section. That is the summary part. So, people watching on YouTube or on Academy, if you have any doubts, just post it on the chat. Else, we'll move forward. Fair enough. Let's move forward. Let's see the summary type of questions now. In summary, identify the central idea, author's viewpoints, eliminate the options one by one, and don't assume anything. Simple, straightforward. Okay. For me personally, summary questions provide the best ROI because they take relatively lower time, and I have more chances of getting a +3, right? Because in para-jumbles and odd one out, the probability, if you just go by simple probability, it's much lower. But for summary questions, it's relatively higher. So when you're doing the summary questions, keep in mind a couple of things. This is very similar to an RC question if you have attended my RC session or if you've seen it afterwards. Eliminate, just ignore the examples. I mean, I have learned this through multiple experiences wherein, author would mention an idea, discuss about an example throughout the paragraph, and then just conclude that idea. And you would feel that that idea, that example is the crux of the passage, central idea, but that's not the case. Try and identify which are the examples and which is the core idea. Also, sometimes in summary questions, you might have core central ideas and subsidiary ideas. So you'll also have to identify which are those secondary ideas. Okay. And apart from that, again, as I mentioned in my RC session, do not at all assume anything. Don't assume anything unless it is mentioned in the summary above. Okay. We'll do a question, we'll do an example, we'll analyze that and see how it pans out. Okay. So before I start this example, again, people on YouTube or on Unacademy chat, if you have any questions, just feel free and then I can start with this example. Anyone has any doubts or shall I start? Okay, I think I'll take that as no doubts and start. So this example talks about, though they do not involve burning dirty fossil fuels, hydropower projects are not emissions free. Okay, so I know there is something related to hydropower projects being talked about and something that they are not emissions free. Perfect. Often, large dams flood vast vegetated areas. Okay, so hydropower projects can be related to dams. Perfect. As a result, the vegetation rots underwater. Eventually, this leads to the release of methane. Okay, so large dams flood the vegetated area. Vegetated vegetation rots leads to methane, which is a greenhouse gas. Perfect. In some cases, large dams can result in even more lifetime greenhouse gas emissions than equivalent sources. Okay, so it says clearly in some cases, large dams can result in even more lifetime greenhouse gas emissions than equivalent conventional sources. Okay, so in some cases, and it's a lifetime which is being discussed. Okay, and this does not even include the emissions resulting from the construction of such dams. So the above part is only about the functioning or the flooding part and hydropower project. They are not talking about the emission from the construction part. Okay, understood. Cement and equipment, heavy projects that usually take several years to build. So the last line very clearly tells me that they're talking about the functioning and the emissions that they are producing and not the construction part. Okay, so I need to choose the option which summarizes this paragraph the best. So let's see. Large hydropower option A says large hydropower projects contribute more to climate change than fossil fuels plants of equivalent generating capacity. Okay, this line says large dams can result in even more lifetime greenhouse gases than equivalent conventional sources. So Harsh says B. Okay, Harsh, let's see if that is the answer as we are discussing. Let's see, right? Projects contribute more to the climate change than fossil fuels plants of equivalent generating capacity. But here it tells me it's only in some cases, whereas option A is making a generic statement in simple present, as if it's a universal truth. So I will eliminate option A because it's just in some cases, not in every case, right? So it's a not wrong allegation. Option B, as large dams result in significant greenhouse gas emissions, hydropower cannot be regarded as a clean source of energy. Looks good, nothing wrong with it so far, so I'll keep this option for now. Option C, hydropower projects cause flooding. Yes, I know that. Leading to significant greenhouse gas emissions from rotting organic material. That is said in the paragraph, that they cause flooding, then the vegetation rots, and then methane is there. But is that the central idea? Not really. Central idea, as far as I understood from this, is that the hydropower projects, the dams, also emit a lot of pollution, a lot of emissions. So then this option, although true, is not capturing the core essence of this. So I'll eliminate this. Option D talks about in terms of greenhouse gases, gas costs. Hydropower is comparable to more conventional sources of energy. This seems to be a very generic option. First of all, although I do understand what greenhouse gas costs mean, but this particular term has not been used anywhere in the part above, right? Secondly, hydropower is comparable to conventional sources of energy. If I don't know what greenhouse gas costs is, how can I compare? Firstly. Secondly, it's comparable, but again, in some cases. So if you say it's a generic statement, I will not agree with this. So again, I will have to eliminate this, leaving option B as my answer. And Harsh, you were correct. Uh, Option B is the correct answer for this particular summary question. Now I'll give you guys a minute or two to see if you have understood this. If you have any question regarding the para-jumbles or the summary question so far, do post in chat on YouTube on Unacademy, and following which I'll be taking that. Any doubt regarding para-jumble or summary questions that you have not understood so far, or this example particularly, take a minute or two, read it again if you understand it. If you have any doubts, feel free to post on the YouTube chat or on the Unacademy chat, and we'll be taking those questions. I'll give you guys a couple of more seconds and then I'll move to the next section, that is the odd one out section. No one? Oh, I hope I'm very clear with this. Fair enough. So let's just move to the third section of today, which is the odd one out. Personally, in my opinion, this is one of the most tricky section when it comes to para-jumble summary or this particular one. So, how to go about it? It is tricky, but if you get a hang of it, it's very easy to tame. So, let's just tell me some tricks and tips which can be used again to solve these questions and to analyze them and to get the maximum out of it, right? So, uh, the rule of RC, which I had discussed in my third session, also applies here. Okay, if you got it in the first glance that it is wrong, that is in the most cases. I mean, that's not a rule, but yes, you need to be very careful because these questions are meant to trick you. They are at times very tricky in their language or in the context or in the way they put it or the way they position that wrong option. So a lot of play in this particular type of questions, so you need to take care of it. Okay. Now, in my opinion, odd one out are nothing but an extension of para-jumbles. As my approach towards odd one out is to put these put out of the five sentences, I try to make a para-jumble out of the four sentences and see which one is not fitting in. Once I know which one is not fitting in, I know that is the answer for the odd one out, right? Sometimes you can directly identify the odd one. How? When a sentence shifts its focus from one thing to another, that's your answer. And if it's talking some in four of the sentences, some topic is being talked about, and the fifth sentence is completely out of context, right? That's a possible answer. That's not the answer always, but that's a possible answer. Just see if that logically fits somewhere. You never know. If the author had a positive or negative tone throughout, but a sentence is negative or positive respectively instead, you have your plus 3 marks right there. Even with the tone of the statements which are there, you can identify the odd one out. Okay. Many people think that just because a sentence mentions something which was not present in the other sentences makes it an odd one out. They can't be more wrong because at times that is how the questions are designed so that you feel that since a sentence is talking about something very different, it's an odd one out. It might be the closing sentence of the para-jumble, as I had mentioned in my previous discussion. It might just be a closing sentence of the para-jumble. So my advice would be just try to make a nice four sentence PJ out of it and see which one doesn't fit. It will take time, but that is a good way to go about it. Okay. Now it could be the ending sentence of the paragraph, as I said. That's why everyone should positively just arrange these four sentences before marking the answer. So that's the way to go about the para-jumble questions, the odd one out, and the summary questions, right? Again, I'll be discussing an example of the odd one out question and on how to analyze them. But in the meanwhile, I'll give you guys a minute and a half. If you have any doubts, people attending on the Unacademy or on the YouTube, if you have any doubts, just feel free to ask on the comment section. I'll give you a minute and a half and then we'll dive into the example of odd one out. I don't see any doubts. Either I'm too clear or I'm too boring that I've put you to sleep. I don't know. Guys, come on, ask up. I mean, this is the last session. Make the best use of it. Anything, even if you have anything related to exam day, regarding strategies, regarding any other section, I'll be taking up now because these are probably the last 30 minutes that I spent with you guys. So uh, I do have a flow in mind, but apart from that, if you have anything that you want to ask, feel free to go about it. No one? Fair enough. So let's just move on to the example and see how to solve an odd one out example question. Okay. Now, in this, the first sentence is stat signaled something measurable, while matic advertised free labor, but tron above all indicated control. Okay, so I have three terms which are being defined. I don't know if these are in different languages or these are prefixes or suffixes. I don't know what these are, but some three terms are being defined over here. Fair enough. It was a totem of high modernism, the intellectual and cultural mode that decreed no process or phenomenon was too complex to be grasped, managed, or optimized. That's a very heavy language sentence. Very, very heavy words are being mentioned. But again, I know that there's a it which is being mentioned. So maybe there is some noun which is preceding the sentence. I don't know. Let's just break it down. Um, Third sentence is like the heraldic shields of ancient knights. These morphemes were painted onto the names of scientific technologies to proclaim one's history and achievements to friends and enemies alike. Okay, so here I see that onto the names of scientific technologies to proclaim one's history. Okay. Let's just keep the sentence. Let's just first read all the sentences and try to make sense out of it. Fourth sentence says that uh, the historian Robert Proctor at Stanford University calls the suffix tron along with matic and stat embodied symbols. So I know in sentence one, these particular suffixes are being talked about. So 4 and 1 are definitely the part of the para-jumble that I am trying to make here. Fifth sentence talks about to gain the suffix was to acquire a proud, optimistic emblem of an electronic and atomic age. Okay, that's great. Again, there's suffix word which is being used. So I know somewhere 4, 1, and 5 are kind of talking of suffixes, right? Great. Now I also have option sentence 3 which talks about like heraldic shields of ancient knights. These morphemes were painted onto names of scientific technologies to proclaim one's history. And fifth one is talking about something acquiring a proud and optimistic emblem. So these kind of look connected to me. Whereas when I see the second sentence, I don't see anything which is related to any symbols or the suffixes or the words stat, matic, tron, any of that. Okay. So the one person which I can see in all of this is in sentence 4, that is Robert Proctor. So I would like to keep that as the opening sentence because that is where the complete suffix tron, matic, and stat, all of them are mentioned to start with, right? So I'll keep that as the opening sentence of my para-jumble. Now I need to identify what can come next. Embodied symbols. Okay, so this sentence ends with embodied symbols. Where else do I see symbol? I see emblem over here. Okay, and I'll see that there is something mentioned like the heraldic shields of knights, these morphemes, history of this alike. Okay. So either sentence 5 or 3 will come after sentence 4. Let's see. Where does sentence 1 fit in? One talks about what stat means, what matic means, what tron means. And they indicate control. Okay, tron indicates control. So Okay, when the sentence 3 says that they proclaim one's history, okay, then sentence 1 talks about measurable free labor indicate control. So I get a gut feeling that yes, after sentence 4, 3 and 1 form a good pair. So I have 4, I have 3 and 1. Now I need to see where 5 fits in, if at all that is not the odd one out. But still, even now, I can't see number 2 fitting in anywhere because of totem being mentioned, modernism, no mention of symbols or anything of that sort. Okay. To gain suffix was to acquire. Uh, Now, when I read it after sentence 3 and 1, I see that to gain suffix was to acquire something. So, 5 talks about what gaining suffix meant. So, hence, I would say that the order of my PJ would be 4, 3, 1, and 5, making the sentence number 2 the odd one out over here. Okay, so let's see what this says. While 4, 3, 1, 5 make a cogent paragraph about what suffixes symbolize in the field of science and technology, option 2 is unrelated sentence explaining the thinking behind high modernism. Right, guys? So if you have any doubt in this, feel free to post in your Unacademy chat or the YouTube chat as you may like. As I said, this was one example which was very heavy on the language, which had difficult terms, difficult concept to understand. But if you saw, I did not actually understand the meaning of these. I just took up some words, how that it can flow, the tenses, the pronouns, and that is how I played with it. Right? Again, one more thing to note here was that uh, it, the pronoun being used here, had no noun that I could refer back to when I was talking in the other 4 sentences. Right? So going back, I'll just say that there are multiple ways an option can be an odd one out. It can be in terms of tone, it can be in terms of a new idea or an old idea being talked about. It can be completely out of context. A lot of ways that you can look at. So now that I've discussed this example, I give you guys a minute to post your questions, if any, on the Unacademy or the YouTube chat, and then I'll move forward on how to analyze the odd one out questions. You guys have a minute to ask before we move forward. Also, go through this example if you have understood the explanation that I have given. If you have understood why option 2 is the odd one out. Right, so just let's move forward. Again, as we did in the para-jumbles, I'll recommend the same thing that you do in the odd one out example. That is, source it. Yes, just source the question, source the sentences. After analyzing the mock or the paper, the RCs, the PJs, the odd one outs, just source them. When I after attempting this question, when I went to source it so that I could read, okay, what this article is about, what is the tone that the author follows, how are these articles actually thought about? I found this article, A Tale of Trons, the suffix that tells the story of modern science. And when I found this, if you see, these sentences are just one after the other in this particular paragraph that I've extracted over here, right? So you'll be surprised that all these articles that you will find in your RCs or your PJs or your odd one out, all of them are already articles out there which are on topics which the cat usually asks, right? So read these articles, just source it. After every question that you analyze in every mock that you have given, try to source every article, try to read them, try to understand what is the tone these authors follow. How are the ideas flowing in an article? This will give you a much better hold. Apart from you know, referring to the solution which is given in the mock solutions, be it in the video or the text format. Doing this one thing, this is something which needs an extra mile of effort. But if you give that extra mile of effort, your results will show it. Your results will be extra mile. Okay. So, as I did for this example, just source all the questions that you're doing, all the questions that you're analyzing or you've attempted so far. Believe it's not a very big task. It will take hardly 5 minutes to source it and to read it. Okay. So just do that. Okay, Shivam is asking a question. Shivam, I'll take this once I'm done with this example. Just give me a minute. Okay. So just source it and read that article and do this for every question, every mock that you've given so far. Once you do that, you'll understand how these articles are written, how the authors think, how there is cogency in the flow of thoughts, in the flow of ideas. Okay. So this is something not a lot of people do or know, but I would personally recommend that you do this. Okay. Okay. Taking Shivam's question now. Sir, I want to ask how to start preparation of VRC, where to start, what we read first, like articles, blog, newspapers. So explain. Definitely, Shivam. I'll take that question. In the meanwhile, if anyone has any other questions on the YouTube or Unacademy chat, feel free to post. In the meantime, I'll take Shivam's question. Right. So, Shivam, there are a lot of aspects when you talk about VRC preparation. I hope you're asking for CAT 2021 because for CAT 2020 it's a little late to start the preparation. But okay, let's just dive into it. So, personally, I was never a person who would read a lot of novels or newspapers or blogs. Okay. I mean, I was forced to read by my mentors, but then I could not, so I just left them. So what I mean to say is that VRC, if you have attended my previous sessions, you'll get a answer from there as well. But if you have not, let me just put it out there for you. Okay. Also see those sessions so you'll have some idea of what I'm referring to. Going forward, VRC is not about English. It's about logical reasoning. How RC's summary questions, these are about eliminating the wrong options and not selecting the right answers. Okay. So if you have to talk about preparation, whatever material you might have, be it any classes, IMS, Time, Career Launcher, MyQuanda, Unacademy, any material that you might have, just pick that up. Books like RC 99 or anything of that sort. Just do one of those so you'll have a flavor of what kind of questions come in, what kind of passages come in, what to expect from the section. Okay. Then what you do is, as I've mentioned and as I've discussed in my previous sessions as well, um, VRC, like the other two sections, is about how good you analyze it and not just how many sections or how many questions you attempt. Okay. So for analysis, try to make yourself an expert in optional elimination techniques. Right. So once you've attempted those mocks, these sections, these questions, just sit and give time to yourself as to why any option is wrong instead of reasoning why your option is correct. Okay. When it comes to preparation, you don't need to go out of the way to read all these articles, blogs, or newspapers. Definitely, those are good. You must do that. I had mentioned in my last session that you must read articles from newspapers and try to summarize one every day for yourself. So that will not only help you in improving your RC reading speed, but also it will help you with your current affairs, which will be helpful in the um, GD and PI round. And if you summarize that, that will again kind of help you to get acquainted with the idea of getting the gist out of every paragraph. Okay. Apart from that, as I've been mentioning here in this session, source every question of RC, source every PJ question, source every odd one out question. Once you source them, read those articles. So you're kind of reading the pinpointed articles which the exam sitters have picked up, right? So if you read those articles, they'll be equally good or even more. So just keep doing this process over and over again. Keep analyzing, keep attempting, keep mastering your option elimination, keep reading your articles, keep summarizing, and you will master it. I hope Shimam I was able to answer your question and I can move forward with the discussion. Meanwhile, if anyone else has any question in the Unacademy or YouTube platform, feel free to ask on the comment section. Perfect. So let's just move forward with the last couple of minutes that we have. Let me discuss or reiterate what to do in the last couple of weeks, couple of days, couple of hours to get, right? So, uh, many people ask, what do I do 2, 3 days before the exam? What all should I revise? What all should I study? What not? I panic a lot. Even I panicked. I've been in that particular place not a very long time back, right? So one thing that I'll suggest is relax. CAT is an art which you have mastered over the time with your practice, your dedication, your hard work. Now is the time you can relax. Now, I don't mean right now, I mean 2, 3 days before the exam. Don't start relaxing right now. This is the time when you have to put in your everything these last 15 days. After that, when you have just 2, 3 days, that is what I'm referring to. So, when you are there, just relax. You've done all you could have, you have developed that art, and now it's just a time to practice it and to do it in the exam. So listen to music, watch a movie or two, get adequate sleep, talk to people who motivate you and are your well-wishers. Okay? Have good food, but avoid anything that could upset your health or mentally or physically, because that I believe is the last thing you want when it comes to a CAT exam, right? You will have panic attacks, but that's okay. And you will also have intervals of complete blankness that I don't know anything. I'm completely blank. I don't remember any formula. But that's okay. Don't worry. It happens to the best of us. It has happened to me. Okay. One thing that I would suggest is that you keep a formula sheet handy and just go through that once or twice to gain confidence and revise concepts. As I've been iterating over and over throughout my session series, that CAT is all about confidence. Okay. So don't keep very high five formulas, very difficult lengthy formulas in this formula sheet that I mentioned. Keep very simple formulas. I had kept formulas even like a plus b the whole square equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. So when I go through that formula sheet, I have the confidence that yes, this is a very comprehensive sheet and I know all of these formula, right? So it's that sheet is less there for you to revise, but more for you to have confidence that yes, you can do it. Because now is the time you need confidence more than anything. I remember last year around this time, uh, I had my SimCAT 15 and I failed badly at it, and I lost a lot of confidence there. So now is the time that you gain confidence and that you believe in yourself that yes, you can do it. You have put in a lot so far, and with 20 days in hand, you will put a lot more. Okay. Uh, Lastly, I'll just talk a little to summarize about different things of the exam day strategy before I sign off from this Unacademy series of strategy discussion with me. This was a 5-part series and I really had fun doing it. So, before I get an end to this, let's just discuss my overall exam day strategies. If you have any doubts, post in the comment section and I shall take them. Okay, so uh, what was my overall exam day strategy which helped me get the number that I did, right? So first is time management. As I've discussed across my sessions that VRC, my strategy used to be 1 RC 2 VA repetitively. For LRDI, my strategy used to be 2 LRDI, and then after that, whichever set I feel easy depending on the time. I've discussed all of this at length in my previous 4 sessions, so do go through them, right? So it's difficult to stick to your strategy at times, but you need to because that is something that you have practiced, right? For QA, again, my ABC strategy that worked perfectly fine for me and helped me manage my time. So if you don't know what ABC strategy is, go back to the session 1 of my series and you'll get a better understanding or better clarity of what that strategy is. Secondly, mindset. Don't worry. I mean, yes, it is a big exam, it's a big day, but it's not a do or die thing. Just think that I will give my best and others' performance is not in my hand because CAT is about percentile, not percentage. So do not get into a lot of worry and ruin your own performance, right? The third point, how to deal with a bad start. We have a bad start to a particular section, or we have a whole section which is going bad in the very beginning of the exam. So how do I deal with that? Now, first thing is to keep calm, most important, right? A key here is to treat every section as a separate exam and don't let a bad section in the start affect you. That works otherwise as well. Don't let a very good section give you an overconfidence that you can enter the second section blinded by overconfidence that yes, you are killing it. Don't do that either. Okay. So take a minute or two if you have a bad start to a particular section or if you have had a bad section before the next section. Take a minute or two doing nothing. Yes, I mean it, do nothing. To lose 2 minutes doing nothing and then cracking the paper is much, much better than continuously doing the paper under stress with low accuracy. Right? Now, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask on the comment section. We have just a couple of minutes left before we wrap up this final session of the strategy discussion with me. Last point, but not the least, revision before the final submit. This depends on the person. I personally am not a revision person. I do it once and that's it. I am happy with my answer. But if you are a person who likes to revise at the end, considering obviously that there is any time left, mark those questions so you don't have to waste time searching them in the end. Okay? And this works in all the sections. I mean, if I remember in my VRC, I had one particular question in the RC which I had marked for the end. And I did go to that question. I had just a minute or two left. And had I sat there searching that question, I would have wasted a lot of time. So use that marking function which is there, okay? And just go ahead and mark the questions which you feel you would like to revise at the end. Similarly for DLR, similarly for Quant. For DLR, what you can also do is there are times when you have a particular set which you have worked on but you have not quite cracked it so far. You have made it to a certain extent but you have not cracked it. Mark it. So that again, you don't want to spend even a few seconds searching questions. That's utter waste of time. Let's not do that. Let's use the marking functionality to its maximum. Right? And for quantitative ability, as I have been describing my ABC strategy extensively uses the marking function. Once I've solved the A type questions, I get them green. All the B type questions, I'll see them, I'll approach them, but I'll mark them for later. The C type questions I'll approach and I'll not mark them. Also, When it comes to marking, uh, this, as I've been reiterating, just use it across sections to be uh, able to navigate through the questions quickly and not waste time searching for them. So that is kind of it from my side. I hope you guys have enjoyed and have had value addition to your strategy and the way you are going to attempt and crack CAT. So now I'll be signing off, and this was the 5 session strategy discussion with me, Rishi Mittal, 100% Tyler of CAT 2019. And I would like to thank Unacademy for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you people on an academy platform and on the YouTube platform, and be able to put all of my strategies, my experiences, and everything I had to say out there. I'm open for questions if any of you have any questions. If at all I've not covered anything which I don't think there is something that I've missed out, but feel free to reach out to me on YouTube or any other source that you can, and I'll be happy to help. But before reaching out, make sure you've seen all the 5 sessions, because I have very comprehensively covered almost everything that I had with me to offer, right? So, on that note, I'll be wrapping up today's session and this complete series of sessions. Thanks to everyone who has watched, thanks to everyone who have asked questions, and even those who are watching right now on YouTube and an academy. So, hope you had a great time and all the very best, not only for CAT, but for all the other exams that you are about to give. It's a great journey. Just one thing that I'll say is that enjoy as much as you can, and I just wish that you get the best of the colleges, uh, because these colleges are worth it. Believe me. Being at IIM Bangalore, it has been a great time. Just it's not been long. It's just 3 months, but my overall perspective, my overall personality has changed, and I can feel that. So put in your everything and get into the best of colleges, and all the very best to everyone. Thank you, and I'll take your leave now. Bye bye.